Are you curious about the impact the PMBOK 8th edition draft will have on your PMP exam preparation? Interested in knowing whether you need to stop using the PMBOK 7th edition, the PMBOK 6th edition or the Agile Practice Guide? Don't worry. In this video, we will cover everything you need to know about the PMBOK 8th edition draft and its impact on your PMP exam preparation. My name is Ahmed. I'm the founder and PMP coach at GAN Scholar and the creator of the Udemy course PMP Certification Exam Prep Made Easy. Alright, let's dive into the video. To understand what new in the PMBOK 8th edition and how it differs from the PMBOK 7th edition, we need to cover some background on the PMBOK 6th edition, the PMBOK 7th edition and the Agile Practice Guide. The PMBOK 7th edition was released in August 2021 and is the successor to the PMBOK 6th edition. However, there was a significant difference between these two books. Until the PMBOK 6th edition, PMI made incremental changes to earlier editions, but the PMBOK 7th edition introduced a major shift. PMI transitioned from a process-based approach to a principle-based project management approach. In the PMBOK 6th edition and earlier versions, PMI focused on project management processes which served as the fundamentals for project management activities. The PMBOK 6th edition features 49 project management processes grouped into 10 knowledge areas and 5 process groups. When PMI released the PMBOK 7th edition, they completely revamped the book, switching to a principle-based approach. This shift was made to ensure the PMBOK guide remains relevant in the ever-changing project management landscape. In the recent years, numerous new tools, methodologies, and project management approaches have emerged. PMI likely realized that sticking to a process-based approach as they had till 6th edition would make the guide less applicable to many types of projects. Consequently, they adapted a principle-based approach, introducing 12 project management principles to act as guiding rails for projects across various methodologies. However, PMI clarified in the preface of PMBOK 7th edition that the process-based approach wasn't being discarded, and the 49 processes from the PMBOK 6th edition were still applicable. You'll find this clarification in the PMBOK 7th edition itself. The principle-based project management approach emphasizes mindset alignment. It ensures that whatever tools, techniques, or methods we used are aligned with these 12 principles, improving project efficiencies and success. This approach also strongly supports process tailoring. The PMBOK 7th edition, however, provides only high-level guidance, and it explains why we follow certain practices but lacks detailed instruction on how to execute them. For example, if you want to learn about project scheduling, the PMBOK Guide 7th edition provides information on why we prepare a project schedule, its importance, guidelines for tailoring it, and its benefits. However, it does not explain how to actually create a project schedule. Critical aspects like estimation techniques, task sequencing, critical path analysis, schedule compression, and resource optimization are not covered in the 7th edition. This is the main drawback of the PMBOK 7th edition. If you want to master these concepts, you need to refer to the PMBOK Guide 6th edition, which has remained relevant for this purpose. Currently, PMP aspirants must study both the PMBOK 7th edition and 6th edition to prepare for the exam, which creates confusion. In response, PMI rebranded the PMBOK 6th edition as the Process Group Practice Guide, declaring the 6th edition obsolete. The new guide is essentially a reorganization of the 49 processes from the PMBOK 6th edition in a different order. The issue here is that while previous PMBOK editions replaced their predecessors, the PMBOK 7th edition did not replace the 6th edition. This gap exists because the 7th edition introduced principle-based approach, while the 6th edition focused on process-based project management. I believe PMI realized this discrepancy and started developing the PMBOK Guide 8th edition to unify these approaches, combining principles with processes. You need to know one more story from the past to fully understand the reason for the creation of the PMBOK 8th edition. In 1984, PMI launched the PMP certification. From then till 2021, the PMP exam was fully based on the predictive project management methodology, also called as the waterfall or the traditional approach. After realizing that the project management landscape was heavily influenced by agile practices, PMI decided to add agile project management practices to the PMP exam at the end of 2021. The weightage for predictive and agile project management practices was made equal, 50% each. So people preparing for the PMP exam now had to learn both predictive and agile project management tools and processes. Since the PMBOK 6th edition was created considering only project management tools, techniques and methods used in predictive development approach, the candidate had to find an additional resource to learn agile project management practices. To address this, PMI made the Agile Practice Guide one of its official resources for PMP exam preparation. So both change the introduction of the principle-based project management approach through the publication of the PMBOK 7th edition, and the addition of the Agile practice to the exam syllabus was deployed in Q4 2021. From that point on, anyone preparing for the PMP exam had to read the PMBOK 7th edition to understand the project management principles. Then to learn how to manage both predictive and agile projects, they need to read the PMBOK 6th edition or the Process Group Practice Guide to master the 49 processes applicable to predictive project management. Additionally, they had to read the Agile Practice Guide to learn about Agile project management. I hope you are clear so far. Now let's define the problem statement based on the available information. If you are preparing for the PMP exam today, to cover the concepts listed in the PMP exam content outline, you must read at least 3 books. The PMBOK 7th edition, the PMBOK 6th edition or the Process Group Practice Guide, and the Agile Practice Guide. Remember, all these books are published by PMI. The need to read 3 different books to prepare for the exam takes a heavy toll on PMP aspirants. Now, if you were in PMI's position, wouldn't you combine these 3 books to create a single comprehensive resource? Yes, right? That's exactly what PMI has done by creating the PMBOK 8th edition. The PMBOK 8th edition is the compilation of the PMBOK 7th edition, the PMBOK 6th edition, and the Agile Practice Guide. To put it more clearly, if you combine the principle-based approach with a process-based approach and the know-hows of the Agile project management, you get the PMBOK 8th edition. In my opinion, the publication of PMBOK 8th edition is a great news for all PMP aspirants because it makes the learning process more structured and easier by eliminating the need to read multiple books and manually associate relevant topics from various sources. Isn't that nice? Of course, yes. The draft version of the PMBOK 8th edition was made available at the end of December 2024 until the 3rd week of January 2025 for public review. This was conducted by PMI to receive feedback from project managers to improve the draft version. After reviewing the complete draft, I was able to come up with some key findings that I want to present to you in this video. The first and foremost change is that the 49 processes from the PMBOK 6th edition have been condensed to 40 processes, and instead of 10 knowledge areas, we have now 7 performance domains. This is one of the major changes I found in the PMBOK 8th edition, and I welcome this change because some of the processes in the 49 processes listed in the PMBOK 6th edition were a little confusing, and it was also difficult to distinguish them from one another. For example, PMI has eliminated the develop team and manage team processes and introduced a single process called lead the team. Some of the knowledge areas have been combined. For example, the stakeholder engagement and communication knowledge areas have been merged into stakeholder process domain. Reducing the 49 processes to 40 is, in my opinion, a nice move by PMI. Processes from the knowledge areas like quality management and procurement management have disappeared from the process map. The processes related to the quality management have been integrated into the performance domains, and a new chapter has been added in the appendix to cover concepts related to procurement management. The integration knowledge area has been renamed as governance. We also see processes like conduct, make or buy decision, and manage sponsor engagement There are also significant changes in the finance performance domain as well. In addition to the concepts like earned value management, we also need to cover concepts related to benefit realization like return of investment, net present value, and so on. These are some of the major changes I have observed in the process map. However, we need to wait and see the final process map, as there may still be some modifications based on the feedback provided for the draft version. Next, PMI has condensed the 12 project management principles from the PMBOK 7th edition into just 6 project management principles. From an exam preparation point of view, these principles are not a big deal because they focus primarily on the mindset needed to manage the projects. We are not expected to learn any new project management tools, techniques, or processes, so you can give the least importance to this change. PMI also introduced some interesting concepts into the PMBOK 8th edition. A few concepts from artificial intelligence, machine learning, genetic algorithm, and augmented reality are mentioned in the book as part of the tools and techniques used in the 40 processes. But don't worry, there are fewer than 5 pages of content related to these topics, and we just need to understand their applications and benefits for managing projects. In the appendix of the PMBOK 8th edition, PMI has covered common use cases for these AI-based concepts, explaining when to apply these tools and techniques. So in my opinion, these fancy concepts will not have a major influence on your exam preparation. We don't need to study them in depth. We just need to understand their application. If you are currently preparing for the PMP exam and in the middle of your preparation the PMBOK 8th edition becomes official, don't worry much because you don't have to learn a lot of new content to cover these AI and machine learning topics. One very nice thing about the PMBOK 8th edition is that the input tools and techniques and outputs, that is the ITTO of the project management processes, have been revised. Compared to the PMBOK 6th edition, the ITTOs of the 40 processes in the PMBOK 8th edition are more reasonable and easy to understand. Also, PMI has explained concepts with examples for each case, which is something new. In all the books published by PMI, they never used examples to make concepts easier to understand. This is, in my opinion, another great improvement in the PMBOK 8th edition. Well, that's all about the major changes we have in the PMBOK 8th edition. Now let's talk about the predictions I have about the PMP exam based on the PMBOK 8th edition draft. Remember, these are my predictions and personal opinions, and they may be wrong. First, based on the significant upgrades and changes PMI made to the PMASCP and CAPM certification programs in 2024 by changing the exam content outlines and the exam pattern and how rapidly they implemented these changes. This kind of rapid evolution PMI is going through in its resources and certification program is unprecedented in my opinion. So I believe that PMI soon launch the PMBOK 8th edition, possibly by middle of 2025 or worst case by end of Q3 2025. Additionally, I anticipate PMI might change the exam content outline and introduce the 7 performance domain from the new project management process map published in the PMBOK 8th edition. The 3 domains that currently evaluates the PMP exam scores, process, people, and business, could be replaced with these 7 performance domains. I expect this because recently the CAPM and PMISCP exam structures were changed based on performance domains. So I'm predicting that the same could happen for PMP exam. Again, this is my prediction. If this happens, it will likely not happen before Q3 2025. To summarize what we have discussed so far, the PMBOK 8th edition is the consolidation of the processes from the PMBOK 6th edition, the principles from the PMBOK 7th edition, and the Agile project management practices from the Agile Practice Guide. The 14 processes have been simplified into 40 processes, and the 12 project management principles have been consolidated into 6 principles. The process map no longer has knowledge areas. Instead, we have the 7 performance domains. New concepts like artificial intelligence, machine learning, augmented reality, and genetic algorithms have been added, but we just need to know about their use cases, so we don't need to worry much about these new concepts. Overall, the PMBOK 8th edition eliminates the need to read multiple books for PMP exam preparation and it is written in a better way with examples and simplified processes, which makes me eager for when this book will be officially used for PMP exam preparation. If you have any further questions related to the PMBOK 8th edition or any additional information to share about it, let me know in the comments. Before closing, I offer this advice to all PMP aspirants. If you're preparing for the PMP certification, focus on becoming an elite project manager. If you do so, passing the PMP exam will come naturally. You will also enjoy the preparation process. Thank you. I will see you again with another useful video.